Hello, boys and girls. How are you? Here I am again, Mr. Brazon. That's right. I hope that you're having a wonderful day today. I am. And guess what? We are going to continue our review of things that we studied a long time ago, at the beginning of the year almost. So, we want to make sure that we are paying very close attention. You want to have your notebooks out, your pencils, and follow every instruction I give you so that you can be totally ready for the benchmark assessments that are coming up. And later on, before you know it, you will have state tests here. So you want to be completely ready, okay? Let's look at the learning target, which it is the same learning target as the last lesson. So the learning target is, I can use existing knowledge. That means knowledge that you already have in your brains from previous lessons. So we're not going to do anything new today. Just use that knowledge that's already there, review it. And that knowledge today is going to be related to how ecosystems are affected by removing or by introducing a species to. And the way that we're going to review that is, well, first we're going to watch a couple of videos to make sure that we remember exactly what happens when species are introduced or removed from an ecosystem. But then we're going to answer multiple choice questions like the ones that you will get on your test, okay? So today, first we'll watch a couple of videos. I'll tell you which ones. Then we're going to go over some questions and analyze them to make sure that we can use that knowledge that we already have in our brains to answer these multiple choice questions. The first video that I'd like you to watch as a review is one that is titled Food Webs Video, okay? So you're either gonna have to open that yourself or your teacher is gonna do it for you. So Food Webs Video. Go ahead and do that. Take notes if necessary to get ready for the questions, okay? Okay. So yes, that video was about food webs, and if you remember that we built food chains and also food webs. So food web is what? It's just a bunch of food webs, a bunch of food chains together, put together, right? And how the food chains interact with each other. Now, to answer other questions for this lesson, this review lesson, you are going to need to remember how ecosystems are affected when species are either introduced or removed. Do you remember that lesson that we did that one time about the kudzu, that vine that takes over the forest in Tennessee, in Georgia, in all these states? When we drive by, we see this vines almost choking the trees, right? You remember that lesson? Well, I want you to watch a video, okay? That's going to help us remember. And it is called Invasive Species Video, okay? So you're either going to click on that or your teacher is going to do it. Watch that to help us get ready for the review questions. All right, well, now we're going to get into some questions. So they're related to food webs and also how ecosystems are affected when an organism, whether it is a plant or an animal, is introduced, and also when an organism is removed from that ecosystems, then the balance is messed up. You know, I was looking for a scientific word, but the balance is just off. Things are not working the way that they're supposed to be working, all right? So let's now review the first question. What would happen first if an area of the forest was clear cut? Okay? So what would happen first if an area of the forest was cut, was cleared? Okay? So remember our strategy. We create a mental picture, a mental movie in our brains about it. So we know what a forest is. So if we were to clear out an area of that forest, what would happen first? So imagine that, okay? So what would happen first? So we have to use our common sense here. Let's look at the first choice. There would be more rain in that area. So when we cleared the trees, there would be more rain. There would be more animals living in that area. So more animals would live there. So that means that we cut the trees, we cut their homes, and more animals are going to be there. Well, think about that. There would be fewer homes for animals that live there. Well, that makes sense to me. There would be less homes for the animals that live there. Let's look at the last one. More plants would grow back to replace those that were lost. Well, yeah, that's true. More plants would grow, but remember, what would happen first? First, that's the key word there. So the only choice here is there would be fewer homes for the animals that live there. Let's look at the next question. So we are thinking how ecosystems are affected, okay, by either removing or adding species. So let's see. Imagine that the desert had a greater population of rabbits than usual. What group of animals would be positively affected? Okay, so imagine that the desert had a greater population of rabbits than usual. What group of animals would be positively, so it would be good for them, affected, okay? So how does having more rabbits would affect an animal in a good way, positively? So remember, we create that mental picture. So more rabbits in the desert. We think about what the rabbits eat. We think about how they would affect. So there are a bunch of rabbits in the desert. How would that affect other animals in a good way? So let's think about what group of animals would be affected in a good way. Let's look at the choices. Carnivores, herbivores, plants, producers. Well, let's think about this. So producers or plants, same thing right here. What do rabbits eat? Well, they are herbivores, they eat plants. So would the plants be affected positively? The more rabbits, the more plants are going to eat. So these plants producers, they're not going to be affected in a good way. Herbivores, well, if you have more rabbits, then the other herbivores are going to have less food to eat. But there is going to be a group that's going to be happy. Who's that group? Of course, the carnivores. Maybe the coyotes or the wolves would have a lot more food because they have more rabbits now. So the only choice here would be carnivores. So notice how we go step by step, making sense of things, okay? We don't just read and answer. We make sense of using the knowledge that we already have in our brains. All right, let's look at this question. So in a forest ecosystem, a hawk is a predator and its prey is a mouse. What will most likely happen if the number of hawks declines, goes down, decreases, okay? So let's read it one more time. In a forest ecosystem, a hawk is a predator and its prey is a mouse. What will most likely happen if the number of hawks declines? So we create that mental movie. So hawks eat mice. All right. The hawk population goes down. What will happen to the mice? All right, so the hawks eat mice. The hawk population goes down. What would happen to the mice? Let's look at our choices. The number of mice will barely decrease. the number of mice will greatly decrease. The number of mice will stay the same. The number of mice will increase. Okay, so the hog eats mice and the hog's population goes down. So are the mice going to be increasing or decreasing? There are no hogs to eat them. What's going to happen to the mice population? What do you think? Of course, it is going to increase because now the hogs are not eating them. So it's just that making sense of what's happening here. All right, let's look at this question. So the red wolf has become an endangered species in North Carolina. Which event most likely caused the decrease in the red wolf population in North Carolina? Okay, let's read it one more time to make sense of this. So the red wolf has become an endangered species in North Carolina. Which event most likely caused the decrease in the red wolf population in North Carolina? So now we start making sense. So red wolves are endangered. That means that there's only a small number left. And now we're thinking, making sense. Why would the red wolves be endangered? What happened to there? So that's the question. What might have happened? So look at this beautiful animal. So what caused them to become endangered? Let's look at our choices. Let's see. Loss of habitat. So they might have lost their home. An increase in food sources. Well, if the food increased, there is no reason why they should have disappeared. Laws enacted to protect the red wolf. Well, if we were protecting it, they wouldn't become less. A decrease in yearly precipitation. So less water. I think the one that is making sense here is this one. That they were losing their habitat, their home. Yes, that's the one that makes the most sense. So either the forests were being cut to make homes or to make farming land, something like that. So if they lose their habitat, of course, that they are going to start dying off. Let's do one more question, okay? So what negative effect would building parking lots have on an ecosystem? So negative, okay? What would be bad if we built a parking lot? Okay, so let's see. More places to park cars. Well, that's good. Less room for animal habitats. Yeah, that would make sense, but let's keep reading. More space for people to enjoy nature. No, a parking lot is not nature. More noise from traffic. That's not good. So, what is the negative effect? Less room for animal habitats. So you see, boys and girls, the key here for these questions is making sense, okay? Taking your time, read the question carefully, read it a couple of times, maybe 3 times if necessary, okay? And then make sense of these things, okay? And try to understand in your mind, okay, with like a mental movie, what's happening here. And then make the decision as to what choice is the one that you have to pick, okay? So do not rush through these questions. Make sense of them. Read them carefully. Create a mental movie in your head. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today doing science. Remember to look for science. It is everywhere. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.